Good evening. Welcome to the July 14th, 2025 City Council Roundtable meeting. I am Mayor Ross, and tonight's meeting is brought to you live using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. Tonight's recording will be posted on the city's YouTube channel. City Clerk Dean, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Benson, Councilmember Watton,
Here.
Councilmember Holloway,
Here.
Councilmember Washington,
Here.
Councilmember Cotton,
Here.
Councilmember Christensen,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Ross.
I am here. Councilor Benson has requested to be excused from tonight's roundtable meeting. Is there a motion to excuse Councilor Benson?
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Councilor Washington and second by Councilor Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, it is unanimous and Councilor Benson is excused. We now move on to our first item of business, which is to approve the agenda, which is an executive session. Council may have a motion to approve the roundtable agenda.
So moved. Second.
To move by Councilor Johnson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And the agenda is approved. Tonight, we have the executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to potential litigation lasting approximately 45 minutes. Those attending will be City Attorney Dina Burke, City Administrator Mike Chambliss, Jeremy Roller from Everett Law, Interim Chief Racy, Deputy Finance Director Jen Hughes, and Budget Manager Janet Walker. And there will be no action taken following the conclusion of the executive session. We will come back and we'll adjourn, and then we have our council meeting starting at 7 p.m. And this meeting will be held upstairs in the Mount Si conference room. Executive session is expected to last until approximately, by the time we get up there, 6:50 p.m. And with that, we will cease the recording and we will adjourn to upstairs. Thank you. Okay, it's 6:55. We are now coming out of executive session and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Watton, second by Councilor Cotton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And we are adjourned. And we return at 7 p.m. for our council meeting. Thank you. So this brings us to our regular meeting of the City Council. The time is 7 p.m. and we just completed a roundtable. Let the record show that all council is present except for Councilmember Benson, who has been excused. Please stand and join us and say in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilor Watton, would you please lead it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now move to our first item of regular business, which is to approve the agenda. Council may I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Washington and second by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And it's unanimous and the agenda is approved. And tonight we have presentation for Best Starts for Kids by Jessica Tolinaire, Cafferty, and Jamila Jones. Here to do presentations. So you can do the presentation up at the podium. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Oh, do we turn it on?
No.
It's on. It's
I
on?
think- just speak into it. Yeah, just speak right into the.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Jessica Tolinaire Cafferty. I'm one of the two co-leads for Best Starts for Kids.
And good evening. My name is Jamelia Jones. I am the other Best Starts for Kids co-lead.
And we're really happy to be here with you today to share a little bit about Best Starts, provide an update on where we are and some additional information about the work that we're doing in partnership with some really incredible community-based organizations in Snoqualmie and the Snoqualmie Valley. Next slide, please.
So, okay. Best Search for Kids is a community driven initiative that is to support every baby born and child raised in King County to be happy, healthy, safe, and thriving. And in 2023, Best Starts partnered with over 336 community-based organizations operating 591 programs to reach over 200,000 children, young people, families, and community members across King County. Next slide.
And Best Starts for Kids is a voter-approved property tax-funded levy. It is a 6-year levy, and we are currently in the second round of the levy. But our approach remains the same that it did in the first round. We're really based off of 4 key pillars. The first is promotion. So we think a lot about the fact that government often has to come in and provide sort of urgent services when a crisis has happened. We're trying to think about how we can move upstream to support kids and families to be well and happy. Promotion is really thinking about what are the things that we know lead to that, and how do we build in more of them? How do we support those protective factors, social determinants of health, anything that really works toward thriving families?
Okay, sorry. And so when we think about promotion, we think about what do we want for all of our children, our babies, to have the best start in life. And so we want to continue to work and to support and build all of the good things that the promotive factors of young people. And so in addition to that, we are also our second pillar in terms of prevention. It's like, how do we interrupt or disrupt some of the things that we don't want our children to experience in life? And so we have a number of strategies that address both, but oftentimes when we are talking with folks, we really do emphasize promotion. And many times folks want to jump to intervention or early intervention, but we strategically and intentionally emphasize promotion.
And then the last 2 pillars are early intervention and systems and policy change. And so when we're talking about early intervention, we're thinking about when families do need some additional support, whether that's developmental support for kids that are young and their brains are still really quickly developing, or for a young person, maybe in their teens, who needs some additional support, making sure that it reaches families in the way they need it quickly and early on to try to get us back towards that path of well-being. And then policy and systems change is really sort of indicating that we know this can't be limited to our levy. And so we're thinking about what can we learn from the work that we're doing? How can we support community in implementing things that they don't work? How can we support sort of scaling this and broadening this so that we're really saying we want to effectively move towards large scale change for families?
Next slide, please. Thank you. And so what makes Best Search for Kids so successful is that we partner with our community partners in terms of providing the best proactive supports for our families and communities. And we are furthering our commitment to racial equity as we are demonstrating and leading by community expertise. So we really do try to center our communities and community partners that are rooted and grounded within their communities and honor the fact that they are the experts of what is needed, what families and kids in their particular communities are needed.
And I think the other thing we'd highlight on this slide is just that in the second round of the levy, in addition to sort of sustaining the work that we've done between 2016 and 2021, we also added 2 important new investment areas. We're now also funding childcare subsidies and a wage boost for childcare providers, as well as some investments in capital projects across King County, recognizing that facilities are a real need for these types of services. Next slide, please. So this is just sort of an overview of what our investment areas look like. Again, Best Starts for Kids is about $880 million across the county over 6 years. The first 3 items you see here kind of come off the top of our budget. And so these ones are the things that get funded first. The remaining items, I'm sorry, the top 4, the remaining items are divided in portions. Basically, we spend about 50% of our remaining budget on prenatal to 5 services, recognizing that that is a really critical moment in brain development and in family well-being. And then we really want to sustain that gain. We recognize that it's not enough to invest early. You really have to keep on investing at these critical moments in young people's lives and in the lives of families and community. And then Communities of Opportunity is an initiative we'll talk a little bit more about within Best Starts for Kids. But it is really thinking about you can't separate families and kids from the community they live in. And so how do we support healthy, thriving, and equitable communities that help reach that well-being for them? And then we think data and evaluation is a really important part of Best Starts for Kids, particularly if we want to learn from our work, support partners in building capacity to learn from their work, and understand how we can have a larger effect and a long-term effect.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just a snapshot of Best Starts for Kids since 2022, when the levy was renewed. And this just gives you an idea of across King County of where we're at now. We're a little over halfway through the levy, which will end in 2027.
Next slide, please. So we wanted to highlight a few things specific to Snoqualmie. We're really excited to share some of this information. I will say some of these data are a little bit out of date. They're 2023 data. I'm excited to share that our 2024 annual report goes live tomorrow and will be transmitted to council. So we will be providing all of you with an updated slide deck that includes more recent data. And unfortunately, I could not provide it to you before I provided it to our own council. But in 2023, we did provide $9.5 million to organizations serving folks in the city of Snoqualmie, and that represents 42 different community partners. One of the things I think is really cool about that is that those awards really range in size. So we have small organizations that are seeking small sort of mini grants to support their current work, and that can be as small as $5,000. And then we have grants as large as $1.1 million, and those are supporting things like early supports for infant and toddlers. Some of that more intensive programming. We also wanted to highlight the District 3 numbers. Councilmember Perry couldn't be here tonight, but did say she wanted to send her regards. She's really excited that we're here talking to you all, and we'll be providing a briefing to her following tonight. And so $35.2 million has been awarded to District 3.
And I would just add that this does, based on feedback, but as we go across or visit all of the different districts, but this does not include the previous slide. Did not include organizations that said they would serve all. So I just wanted to name that. And so this is just a slide we always like to share, like kind of what's happening in your particular district. And so this just highlights that in 2023, Best Start served over 900 people in the zip code 98065 and over 1,700 people in the broader Snoqualmie Valley. And just highlight just a few of the organizations that are community partners that are providing services to the city of Snoqualmie. And then we also always like to include a partner quote.
One of the things we will provide in the slide deck is a link to our data dashboard, which again will be updated tomorrow. So I'd wait till tomorrow to log in. But it's great because you can look by region, by zip code, by any number of factors, and get both that quantitative data and some of this qualitative data. So these stories from providers that we're working with, I think, can be really powerful illustrations of what's happening. Next slide, please. Oh, go ahead.
And if you could just, I'm sorry, go back to the previous slide. Just want to highlight a couple of things that couple of themes that we've learned from some of our partners in Snoqualmie Valley in 2024 that, not surprising, but families are facing continuing growing barriers to housing and availability and affordability and mental health care access, access to basic needs services, et cetera, but also that the need for flexible services and tailored supports to help families and reduce barriers to improve access for families. So those are just a few things that we've heard and learned from Snoqualmie Valley in particular, from some of the community partners. So next slide, please.
Perfect. So we did want to highlight some work happening through Communities of Opportunity, one of our investment areas for Best Starts for Kids. COO is really focused on a couple of key things, and two of those are cultural and identity place-based communities, and then place-based communities. And Snoqualmie Valley is one of the places that our investment area of COO is really focused on. Next slide, please. And so what we wanted to highlight here is this work through a supportive community for all. And this organization is really working to support the Human Services Coalition. They've supported the growth of that coalition from 5 to 12 human service providers, really thinking about how we build capacity and support it, and also help leverage more funding from other organizations to grow this work, particularly as we hear the feedback from families that Dr. Jones shared just a moment ago.
Next slide, please. Thank you. And we just want to highlight that we also provide what we like to call a year in a review, or what's called our community report. So it's really, we have two things we do. We have one annual report that goes out to our council members, but also we find it very important to have a report that's maybe a little more digestible for our community partners and families. And so it's called a year in a review community report that has a lot of sort of narrative and like quotes and feedback from community partners, and just kind of gives you an idea across the county of the work that's being done. So that will be released, I believe.
Next couple.
There you go, next couple weeks. Next slide, please.
So again, these maps are from 2023. I apologize, but you are going to get updated 2024 maps. I will give you a spoiler that they are not dramatically different in their themes and takeaways. So I think we can still sort of learn from these. When we think about Best Starts for Kids, we really want to think about where the need is greatest. And we recognize that that exists across every community in King County. We know that that is across geographic communities, that's across racial and ethnic groups. And so we want to think about how we're meeting the needs of kids in every different region, and recognizing that those look really different. One of the things we do look at is where the population density of our young people is highest and where the opportunity levels are lowest. And this is a national index that we use, the Child Opportunity Index. And so what we would say is when we look at those two maps, we kind of hope that our funding will look similar in terms of the density of our funding. Next slide, please. And so this is what it looked like over 2023. And what we saw is that we certainly have areas to improve, but we think we typically are serving folks along the lines of where we would expect to do so. And in those areas where we think we've got room to improve, we're trying to really work to deepen relationship with community partners, with municipalities, with folks who are in relationship with families to understand how we can meet whatever unique needs are there.
Thank you. And so just to let you know about some upcoming funding opportunities, we have our Youth Healing Project, which is really led by young people. It's a peer youth-led, I should say, project. And that came out of the pandemic based on feedback from our young people about what they felt was needed in terms of supporting their mental wellness, et cetera. So that is coming out July 17th. We have opportunity with our Help Me Grow RFP and our Workforce Development mini grants coming out in August. You can also follow on we have a calendar on our website, and you can sign up for the blog, which will communicate out upcoming funding opportunities. Next slide, thank you.
And this is just a QR code linking to that data dashboard that I referenced earlier. Again, it's going to be updated tomorrow. So, I mean, you could certainly do it before and after, but I think it'll be more interesting after the morning. It is a really fun place to explore. You can do lots of different things if you're a data wonk, but really capture kind of what's happening across King County or in specific regions, specific age groups, specific areas of focus. Next slide, please. And that concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you. Council, do we have any questions or comments? Councilor Watton?
I do. First of all, Jessica Tolinar Cafferty and Dr. Jamalia Jones, thank you so much for presenting this. I just want to thank you for your work on this. I've been the treasurer for Encompass before the Best Starts for Kids, and then Trail Youth as the program was developing. It's so important when we bring our local and county governments together with nonprofits that can deliver the services efficiently. I want to commend you because one of the challenges we had over at Encompass was cancellation rate. And by having a partner, that's so important because it means that the dollars go further for those nonprofits. So the work that you're doing is really important. And I just want to commend you on the work and it takes a community and making sure that there's a safety net there. So thank you very much.
Any other comments? No. I thank you for the presentation and just like Councilor Watton stated, I mean, you're definitely making a difference for our families and children in the Snoqualmie Valley. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have a lengthy agenda, so you don't have to feel obligated to stay unless you want to. So up to you. So at this time, we're going to provide time for residents to comment on items not on the agenda. No online public comments will be accepted during the meeting. Written comments are encouraged and may be submitted in person, mail, or email to a city clerk at snoqualmiewa.gov. First, we have a few ground rules for those attending. Snoqualmie residents who are not present have the right to have their elected representatives perform their duties on behalf of the city in an efficient, orderly manner. Therefore, comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Please wait to be recognized and state your name and city of address for the record. Direct your comments to the council as a whole and not individual members. Please note that this is not a time to ask questions of the council, mayor, or staff, or to engage in debate. And we will counsel quietly and respectfully listen to your concerns. Public comments during this portion of the meeting shall be limited to topics concerning current, future, or requested city projects, actions, programs, plans, and regulations. And under RCW 42.17A555, a speaker may not make a statement at a public meeting or during a public comment period in support or opposition of any candidate or ballot measure. If a speaker violates these provisions, the presiding officer can interrupt the speaker as they would any speaker who violates public comment rules. So with that, please respect the decorum, and if there's anyone who'd like to state public comment, please raise your hand and we'll go over to the podium. Yes, right, you go to over the podium and please hit. Right, you still need it. We still need to hear it on the microphone. Thank you. So you're in your name and city of residence, please.
My name is Jacqueline Pfeiffer, and I'm a resident of Snoqualmie. I live at the Side Meadows Townhomes. I've been here for 23 years. My first council meeting, and I'm not quite sure the protocol or what's acceptable, but the topic that we are here representing some of our neighbors is the motorized bikes. So I don't know if that's something we can even address tonight or if
You can make your comment, and then we do have on our public safety agenda, I believe next week we'll actually be talking about it. So the e-bikes,
yeah.
and we do have some information on our website as well.
Yeah, I've seen all that, but
Okay.
the happenings in town are frightening. So I don't believe there's time to go into much of that, but I just wanted to make sure we can get a chance to talk about it at some point.
Okay. If you want to join us at the public safety meeting next week, we can, if you have your information, we can reach out to you. We have the chair of public safety. Is it the Monday at
5 o'clock.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. Got every.
In same room.
except that one.
So, thank you.
Do you have?
Thank you for your comment. So, anyone else? Any public comment? Okay. With that, public comment is now closed, and we will move on to consent agenda. Consent agenda contains approval of the city council meeting minutes dated June 23rd, 2025. Approve the city claims report dated July 14th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Holloway and second by Councilor Cotton. Any public comment regarding any of the items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any discussion? Right. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? And the consent agenda is approved. The next item is the first committee report is Fire Department 4th of July activity report. And we'll have Chief Bailey will provide an overview of the July 4th activity.
Good evening, Council. At the Public Safety Committee meeting last Monday, I provided a report of the activities for the fire department on the 4th of July, and then also provided a written report that was in your packets. I was asked to bring it forward just to let the whole council know about the activities that we had on the 4th of July and the couple days leading up to it. And just as a reminder, this is mainly fire specific, although there is a portion near the end where we talk about some joint operations a little bit with a complaint that was received. So first of all, prior to the 4th of July, we had no fireworks related calls were received. We performed daily inspections on the 2 fireworks stands in the city, all the way through from the 28th, all the way through the 4th of July. Found no issues other than just some minor cardboard issues, which we normally see, and they complied right away. And the fireworks stands were cleaned up by the 7th, which is the required timeline per the SMC. So there were no problems there. So the fireworks stands went really well with the groups that we had in the city. Staffing levels for the day, we had 5 career staff on duty and 8 volunteers were on duty throughout the day at different times. And I was available myself from 8 in the morning until midnight here in the city, responding to calls and helping the crews out. So because of that, we were able to make the engine available with 3 personnel for 24 hours. And we were also able to make the aid car available with 3 personnel for 24 hours for the whole 24 hours of the 4th. As for fireworks related calls on the 4th of July, we didn't have any fireworks related calls. We did have a busy day with normal calls that we see every day, but we didn't actually have any fireworks related calls within the city. We did have a report of somebody being injured by some falling debris at the fireworks show up at the community park, but we were unable to find the patient, and we received a report from PD that it was very minor non-injury, and they left before our crews were able to find them. As I mentioned, we did have some regular calls. We had 3 fire alarms, 4 aid calls during the day, but we didn't have any transports required. And then we also had 2 calls outside the city. Again, no transports were required, so we're able to keep our crews mostly in the city for the day. As for area patrols, we try to make ourselves available when we're not busy throughout the day to drive the area looking for illegal fireworks, so we can help notify the neighborhoods or the people involved. So that evening, after the fireworks show, I was driving around the area and did not notice any illegal fireworks to stop and talk to residents about. The fire department did receive 1 complaint by email the morning of the 4th, received by my email at the fire department. I responded to the complainant that we'd cover the area in patrols throughout the day. I then notified the police department through the interim police chief, and he notified his crews of the email and to watch for that area. I did go up to the address that was reported to try and talk to the homeowners later in the afternoon before the fireworks show, but nobody was home, so I wasn't able to talk to the homeowners. So after the fireworks show, there was a phone complaint received at 11:08. 2 officers responded and arrived between 11:20 and 11:25. They said they watched from a block away, and this came from a summary that I received from the sergeants on duty that day. Officers watched from a block away and saw no illegal fireworks. They did approach the scene and made contact with the homeowner, advised them of the requirements of the SMC and what's allowed and what isn't allowed in the city, and the homeowner assured them that all fireworks complied with the regulations. I myself drove by after the community fireworks show and traffic allowed me to make it to that portion of the ridge, I watched from a little bit away just to see if I saw anything. I did not see any illegal fireworks. I don't have a time for exactly when I responded because we don't start a call in our records unless there's actually something that we see that we need to put on report. But from the homeowner or from the complainant, they said it was about 11:40 so when they saw me drive by. I did approach the scene and talk to the homeowner for my vehicle about the complaints that were received. Again, they advised that they were very careful not to use illegal fireworks, and they had not been setting off any illegal fireworks that night. I did not observe any on the ground, or I didn't observe anywhere on scene. So overall, both myself and the police department patrolled the area and did not see any illegal fireworks by the homeowners. I did follow up with an email with the complainant on July 7th on Monday when I was back in the office, just to advise them what was observed and provide them some follow-up. And I did offer to meet with them personally to talk over what we observed and to go over what's allowed and what isn't allowed in the city. So that was done on Monday. So that was the main complaint that I was involved in with the 4th of July with fireworks. Public relations wise, the crews participated in the ROA Kids Parade, both with an engine and A car and our old engine. And then after that, they were on site at Community Park for approximately 4 hours, handing out gifts to the kids, PR supplies. That's always a real well-received event. Lots of kids crawling on the rigs. And then lastly, just to talk about the Red, White, and Boom celebration, I did go up and meet with the pyrotechnic crew, as always, before the show to go over the safety plan with the pyrotechnic lead. We also walked the area just to make sure that the barricades and things were set up appropriately. Before the show, I had my crews on site handing out glow sticks, as well as with the police department. I believe we handed out just about 3,000 glow sticks to kids throughout the crowd. So that, again, is always a big event for the kids to be able to do that. And then after the show, the firefighters walked the area around the pyrotechnic display just to make sure there's nothing on fire in the woods and it was safe for people to leave the scene. I was there during the show, and during the show it was observed that some lit material landed in the crowd of the lower field directly in front of the fireworks show, as well as a fireworks shell that came down too low and bounced into the outskirts of the crowd. I walked over there as soon as that happened and stood over by the area. Nobody came out to me. There was no reported injuries based on that, but I waited over there till the show was over. Afterwards, I met with the pyrotechnic crew just to talk about what happened and see what he thought was the reasoning. And then we reported it to the city staff the next day and also the church on the ridge. We're going to make sure that we take a look at the setbacks, if you will, from the fireworks show, really make sure that we have those in the right place and possibly expand those out further and look for some additional safety matters just to make sure that we are doing the best we can to keep the crowd safe, as well as put on a good event in conjunction with the church on the ridge. So that's just a real quick, just a brief of what the fire department did, mainly for the 4th of July. It was a great holiday. We had good crews on scene, and luckily, like I said, we were able to have no incidents, fireworks-related incidents within the city.
Councilman, you have any questions? Councilor Cotton?
Just a quick follow-up. Did the complaining party take you up on your generous offer to meet on Monday or go over the event afterwards?
They did not.
Anything else? Right. Thank you, Chief Bailey.
Thanks, Chief.
Is there any further report from Public Safety Committee?
Other than our agenda for this coming Monday at 5 p.m. here will include e-bikes and e-motorcycles, and public testimony is most welcome, as well as we'll continue our discussion on speed that has been an issue in our neighborhoods and how that's being addressed. And I think the most important thing is that, you know, we need to hear from residents because we can't be at all places at all times. And then secondly is kind of comes down to public awareness and doing that through our public information officer, and I think most people have good intentions. It's just easy to lose sight of some of the things that go on during the day when perhaps kids are home and parents are not. And so we want to come up with a reasonable and kind approach, but at the same time, public safety is our number one concern. So with that, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Next is AB 25-069, Historic Downtown Color Palette Resolution. Counselor Washington, would you please read the introduction and motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Planning Commission held several meetings with staff, which included a public hearing to obtain feedback on expanding the exterior color palette options for buildings within the historic and landmark districts. The Planning Commission made a motion on May 19th to recommend approval of the color palette and forward a resolution to the council. I move to approve Resolution 1721, adopting a new exterior color palette for buildings that lie within the historic district overlay or historic landmark overlay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Counselor Washington, second by Councilor Watton. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Yes. Okay. Seeing none, we also have Community Development Director Mona Davis is here to answer any questions if you have any questions. Counselor Johnson.
This is an ordinance, right? This is be a first reading.
It's a resolution.
It's only a resolution.
That's only. It's only a resolution. It's a resolution.
Sorry, Mayor. I thought
Yes.
we were changing code for the color palettes. Is this not a change to code? So maybe I'm confused about resolution.
Community
So-
Development
ordinance.
Director
Director Davis,
Davis can help us. Yeah, no,
do you want to recommend it or I'll be quiet?
on what?
I was asking Director Davis to come up and give some explanation.
Yep.
Okay,
Cheers.
thank you.
Just take it over. And she has a presentation.
Should have talked to you about this beforehand, but
That's also my fault.
yeah, that's okay. We can do it now.
Good evening, council. I did prepare a PowerPoint tonight. So the color palette isn't actually in our code. It's a resolution because it's just a document that lives, within our documents in the Community Development Department. So I'm just going to do a quick run through just to give you an overview because the committee had suggested that I do a PowerPoint just to kind of run through things really quickly. So I'll make this kind of quick, but I think this will help answer your questions and I'm happy to answer any others. So I wanted to include a map of our historic areas. This is your downtown historic district overlay, which is kind of overlapped with the commercial landmark district. There's also a Meadowbrook Historic District overlay. I just thought it might be interesting for you to see what areas we were talking about tonight. So the code does discuss what requires going through historic design review. And in the code, it does refer to an approved color palette that if you wanted to change any colors within that color palette, you would have to go through a variance in order to do that, which is a separate permit. It goes before the Planning Commission. It does take time. It's a permit, so it costs a little extra for the variance application. This is our currently approved color palette that we have now. And as you can see, there's 16 colors on here. It gives you 4 options. You have to stay within one of those 4 options. And then you have 4 other colors at the bottom that you can kind of mix and match within those options. So we had a roundtable meeting with the downtown Snoqualmie Business District at the Economic Development Commission in February. That was actually postponed due to weather. But we finally had that meeting in February and we heard a lot of comments from our business owners. And I just put a few of these in here. Downtown needs a facelift. The buildings look really tired. The colors are drab, and drabber. The colors need an update. We heard a lot of cream, tan, beige, shades of beige. The color palette's a real letdown. And then, of course, variances add extra expense and cost us time. Time is money lost for small businesses. Other historic downtowns have so many more options. The business entryways, they were asking for a pop of color just to draw the customers in. And some of our businesses had paid the extra money and had gone through the variance process in order to do that. So the city staff got to work. We ran around downtown. We took some pictures of some of the current colors that we have in our downtown. And we did a presentation to the Planning Commission to just, ask a few questions. What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? We also took some pictures of other downtowns. The one up on your left is up in Arlington. They did not have approved colors, and it went from what you see on the upper left to what you see on the lower left, which was unanimously we were told was not what we wanted to see in our downtown. We also went to some other downtowns. I went on vacation. I took a few pictures while I was on vacation of the kind of colors and the entryways. And then we researched other cities. And so this is just some of the cities that we really dialed down on. We also looked at, downtown Snoqualmie and some other Carnation. Well, we've got Carnation on there. I think we looked at Duval and North Bends, and we just checked out some of the other cities in the area. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't know it would do that. Anyway, what we found was Snoqualmie has the strictest color palette regulations of any city that we looked at. So how did we get here? Again, we did the introductions to the Planning Commission on February 3rd. We heard from the Economic Development Commission, and then we started doing our research. And we brought several color palette options to the Planning Commission for discussion. We had quite a few downtown businesses come and give comments during those meetings. And then we held a public hearing on May 19th, and we had people write comments in as well as come to the meeting and provide comments. And some of the things that we heard were, in fact, the King County Historic Preservation Board said, it would probably be better just to give a preferred color and just let people pick their own colors, remove the requirements altogether. Others said, color's reversible, it's not a permanent thing. It's really subjective. It can look different based on, the sheen or the material that you're putting it on. The planning commissioners were a little concerned about just opening it up carte blanche to paint any colors in the downtown, especially after we talked about what you could get if you didn't have some kind of colors to go by. So we did provide various paint chips and various manufacturers. They thought it would be better not to cite a specific paint company, to leave it more open-ended. If they could just match the color, it would give them the option of using any paint they wanted. Most of the planning commissioners were adamant, and so were many of the public comments, to not paint brick. It doesn't look good to paint the brick. However, you can buy brick in different colors. And that was okay. They were fine with that. Several of the local business owners, like I said, they submitted letters in support of the colors, and they wanted to see more options with the colors to save the business owners from having to file a variance application and spend that extra money. And then one of the local business owners even continually brought us new paint chip samples at each meeting. She was finding all kinds of historic downtown colors, so we took those in and took those into consideration as well. And then what we came up with was this great diagram that our contract planner, Andrew Love, had prepared. And this kind of goes through and shows what colors, color tones would be allowed on the building as well as on the trim color. And then we had some special conditions, which I know you can't read, so I went through and made those a little bit bigger. But this just gives a little more clarity on those color palettes, you know, that if you're painting your building dark, you should have a lighter colored trim or vice versa. The planning commissioners really didn't like the extremely dark colors and pastels on the building facade itself, but they were fine with that being a trim or an accent color. They definitely did not want to see bright neon fluorescent kind of colors in our downtown buildings. Um, and again, they really pushed the point that contrasting colors should be utilized for the trim. And then also to be cognizant of what your neighbor's building might be painted so that we don't have just like a sea of white buildings or a sea of tan buildings and that whatever somebody wanted to paint their building would be complementary to the building on either side of them. So anyway, they also agreed that natural wood tones should be permitted. And then one of our public commenters had mentioned that if you were able to go back and do some laboratory testing of your building to find that it had a specific color, that it would be okay to match that color to make it historic and bring it back to its original color. And so, and then I also just made this slide so that you could kind of see where we landed based on the color samples. And this just kind of shows that browns, grays, neutrals, whites, off-whites, dark saturated colors could be on the basic building and or a trim and accent. Extremely dark colors are not permitted on the building shell, but they could be used as a trim. Pastels not permitted on the building shell, but again, could be used as a trim or an accent color. Those were kind of the colors that popped that the business owners were really excited about being able to have. And then, of course, bright colors, neon colors, not allowed on the building or in the trim. So the planning commissioners unanimously recommended approval with minor edits after the public hearing on May 19th. Staff went through and made those edits, and then we ran it through Chair Tessman to review. And then once he was satisfied, he provided a letter of recommendation to the city council to approve the planning commission's recommendation on the color palette that you have in your packet this evening. So I'm happy to answer any questions beyond that if you have any.
Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, so I did find it in the code, meaning I saw where it's referenced, and I would have sworn that the color palette was actually code, but you are absolutely right, it is not. However, I did find something else kind of weird. 17.35.040C says that approved color shall mean a color from a palette approved by the Historic Design Review Board and maintained on file by the Historic Preservation Officer, which means it may not need to come to us at all. It could just be the Historic Design Review Board, which is the Planning Commission, that could adopt these changes, unless I'm mistaken. Not that I mind having resolution from council, but it seems like it didn't perhaps have to.
Necessarily need to come to the council. Maybe not, but in an effort to be transparent, we wanted to make sure that it went through all the channels and everybody had an opportunity to make a comment about it. And then we're also working on kind of firming up some of the language so that our code is consistent with the interlocal agreement with the King County Historic Preservation Board. And so that's going to be the next step that we do with the Planning Commission.
Councilor Christensen, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, could you go back just a couple slides to the chart?
This one
Going back the other
or
way. The one with all of it's a few slides from now that has the little check marks and the green or the red X.
Closer to the end.
Yep.
that one?
Yeah. So just so that I can make sure that I understand it correctly then. So generally speaking, we have this color palette. This is what's acceptable. And if, for example, someone wanted to go forward with bright colors on their trim, like what we've seen in downtown at the old Provocatrix building, then they could do that provided that they went forward with a variance and they were able to obtain that variance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that, yes, that variance would go through the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Johnson?
All right, so then on the merits of what we're talking about, rather than the process, yeah, this, looking at our former palette and having been on the planning commission, it was extremely limiting and it was very enlightening to see what other cities have done in comparison to ours and to see the stark contrast of just how limiting ours was, or technically is, pending approval here. So yeah, I think this will be a great thing for our businesses downtown, to just give them a little bit more variety and uniqueness, but also just kind of honing in some potentially wild things that some people could come up with. So.
We went from 16 colors to 62.
Right.
And it was 61, but then we added white at the May 19th Planning Commission meeting.
One other thing was that they are not required to use paint colors from any specific companies, though, right?
That's correct.
There are
We did-
examples given
we
from specific
listed-
companies,
Yes,
but they can do something that's similar.
yes.
The RGB numbers are given.
We mostly listed different color types and we included, I think it's called a hex value
Yeah.
or,
Yeah, hexadecimal.
yes. And so that was basically to allow them to take this color in and then any paint company could match it based on those numbers.
Counselor Watton?
I also want to compliment all the volunteers, the business owners that have been involved in this process. It just shows that, first of all, their voice matters and the city is listening. And I want to also thank Director Davis for taking this on when she has many things on her plate, but this is a huge improvement. Thank you very much.
This was a fun one, and I was really happy to see how many people came to the meetings. And we really had good participation with our business owners. And of course, that's what we like to see. You know, we try to encourage people to come to the meetings and provide comments, and that's easier said than done. So it was really nice to have people there.
Excellent. Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
This may be an educational for me. Was there any discussion of?
You talk on the
finish-
mic.
Any discussion of finish such as, gloss, satin, whatever, can quite change the look of a color, gloss versus satin and whatnot. Any discussion of that, or is that not applicable in this situation?
It was more, that was a discussion and there was an argument for not, not having colors because of that, but it was still, we felt like it was still up to the business owner to make that determination. So as long as their color fell within this color palette, whether it was gloss or satin, we trusted that they would make a good decision on that.
Okay,
It does depend on the material a lot too.
right. It'll reflect the material.
Mhm.
You get a
That they're
thick
painting.
gloss, you can cover over a lot of
Yes,
material.
yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yeah, and the planning commission also kind of had to kind of pick a lane in terms of just how restrictive do we want to get on those things, right? So we were very restricted on the color before, a little bit less on some of those other things, but ultimately you could come up with an infinite number of possible combinations. And how do you analyze all of those in a way that that shows due diligence? It gets extremely complicated, right? So they decided to more or less limit their scope.
I would say the pastels that we picked here on this screen were probably by far the most important thing to our business owners, is just being able to provide a little color and creativity in our downtown without having it look too loud or obnoxious.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Any other comments? Great. Going to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? And it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Great job, Director.
Is there any further community development report?
Not at this time, Madam Mayor.
Great. Is there any report for Parks and Public Works Committee? Nope. Okay. And
Report.
in regarding finance administration, budget manager Jan Walker is here to present the 2025 second quarter financial update.
Good evening, council. I have a truncated version of a presentation that I gave to F&A committee last week. On where we're at as of Q2 2025. And to start out with, I'd like to just go over where we expected to be. So this compares the expected opening balances based on the estimations we made in the forming of the budget. And then our actual opening balances after we've done all the revenues and expenses for 2024, what our opening balance actually is. And then that final column, you could see the differences. And as I move through this, I'm just going to call out some of the bigger differences and why we had those. The first one is the general fund. Primarily within the general fund, I underestimated our revenues. Due to implementing the ERP, we're a little bit backlogged in some of our revenues, so I was guesstimating numbers based on my own guesses. So in some cases, I was very negative where I didn't need to be quite as negative as I was. Some of the bigger differences that we had, the first one was the settlement of the CA Carey lawsuit that we anticipated to happen in 2025. It actually happened in 2024. So that increased the general fund balance by about $500,000. Staying within the general fund, we also underestimated GEMT revenues. So revenues were a little bit lower there. We also had higher than expected ARPA transfers out, and our interest within the general fund was also higher than anticipated.
Councilor Washington, you have a
I'm
question?
sorry, could you remind me GMT? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, ground emergency medical transport. So that's a revenue that we get from, I'm not sure if it's, I think it's Washington State for our medical transport within the fire department.
Thank you.
We also, the revenues were offset in a positive way. We spent a little bit less than we anticipated, and some standout areas for that were within CD and the executive administration, and then also within fire. So when you sum all of those out, we ended up, the general fund, about 1.3 million better than we anticipated, which is good news. Moving down towards capital, you can see both non-utilities capital, which is 310, and utilities capital fund 417. They both ended in a better position than we anticipated. And those are almost entirely due to projects and where we guess we'll be at the end of the year. And I think that we anticipated that we would have spent just a little bit more than we did, and that will probably be expended during 2025. Some of the projects that that includes, for the non-utility capital, that's the community center design. We spent a little bit less than we anticipated. There's also the Meadowbrook Trail project and the River Trail northwest of Sandy Cove, which didn't quite get started during 2024. For the non-utility, for the utilities capital fund, the three big projects that I didn't make the perfect estimations for include the waste reclamation phase 3, Eagle Lake Reservoir, and then 384th Street sewers, 384th Avenue sidewalk and sewers. The next one that's a standout is water, and in this case, I underestimated our expenditures. Some of that is due to that backlog that we discussed. There were taxes and assessments that I failed to accrue that totaled about $350,000. Also, towards the end of the year, there were a couple of pumps that were replaced, which it's difficult to forecast those irregular expenditures. And then we also had the purchase of some capital equipment at the end of the year. And then that, coupled with an underestimation I made for some salaries within that water department, resulted in that negative variance that you see of 1.2 million. The total across all funds, starting out 2024, it's about $3.4 million better than we anticipated in the making of the budget. So how does that all shake out for 2024 Q2? This is a look only at expenditures. I'm not including revenues in this look, just for the same reason that we had a hard time estimating those in 2024. There's a little bit of a backlog. And then in addition, as this is Q2, where we would expect to see revenues in those percentage columns that you're looking at, what we want to see is 50% or below. Anything that exceeds 50% is a little bit higher than we would want to spend. So some of the areas, before I move on to that, you can also see that first column is our actual 2025 year-to-date expenditures. The next two columns under the words approved budget, that refers to the budget, the 2025-26 budget that was passed. And then we have internally revised a budget based on the outcome of the North Bend Police Services negotiations. And with the ending of that agreement, we've tried to pull back on some of the expenditures that we assumed we would have. And so that lighter green, the two columns that are headed with the lighter green, those are our internally revised budget. I'm going to focus on those two columns and just talk a little bit about where we're running above where we would want to be. The first place you see that is in the administrative departments. We're always a little bit ahead with administrative just because we have a huge insurance payment, which is rounds up to $1 million that we pay in January of every year. So we always play catch up at a certain point in the year, and you're seeing a little bit of that. Of course, I would like it to be better than 56% that you see in the approved budget, and it normally would be at this point. And then that 62% gives us more pause. Some of the reasons that might be okay, we've frozen some positions. We have pushed out this internally revised budget, so folks are aware of this, and we're hoping that we can see some turnarounds as we move forward. The next area that we're seeing a little bit of an overage is also in fire and emergency at 52.6%. It's not so over that I'm really alarmed. It's enough that something we pay attention to. We want to keep monitoring. Similarly, with parks and streets maintenance, we've seen some additional maintenance costs that maybe weren't anticipated in the way we would like. Things that you guys are aware of, including a new splash pad. What that means for the total general fund is that with our internally revised budget, we're at 52.6% of the budget expended. We want to see that under 50%. We're tracking it, we're monitoring it. We've seen improvement since March. We're not quite where we want to be, so we will continue to watch that and try to make decisions internally that help adjust our gaps so that we're under where we would expect to be. The next large standout item that you will see is the North Bend Police Services Agreement. You will see that revised budget is 3.1 million. As was mentioned in F&A, that is above the current amount that we're expecting to receive from North Bend. And that's really, that internally revised budget took the whole police department and made a budget based on what we thought we would spend for both services. And then based on some scenario building, we transferred those amounts between the North Bend Police Services Fund and the Snoqualmie Police Fund. So anything that you're seeing, those two are better looked at together, is what I'm getting at. So the next slide will show those two together, and I don't want to talk about that one more until we reach that slide. Those are the main standouts for me from this slide. So I am going to move on where you can see the combined police from Snoqualmie and then the police services from North Bend. And you can see that combined we're at 56.9% when we would want to be at 50%. We are seeing a lot of changes within that department. There are folks who know that this agreement is ending and they're opting out on their own terms. They're finding other employment. So we certainly would expect to see these numbers change probably drastically over the next few months. And we're waiting and watching and seeing what happens, continually monitoring. So that's Q2 in a nutshell, where we are. I do want to say that eventually there will be a Q2 report for 2025. Some of the numbers that you've seen are created by me based on an understanding I have, but they're not quite in our accounting system yet. So you might see some differences when things are finally presented and settled. Are there any questions on the numbers that I have presented?
Councilor Watton?
We go back to the water operations because that was kind of a standout, and just help me, maybe help others understand the difference that showed up at the beginning of the biennial.
Yes, it is. It's a big difference. And it was almost entirely in expenditures. So there was a taxes and assessments that was not accrued for at all. That was about $350,000. There were capital purchases that I'm not exactly sure the amount, maybe rounded up to $200,000. Then there was also some, what are my notes? Pump repairs, similar amounts, probably low six figures. And then I did make an error in employee costs. So that contributed to it. And I've looked at where we will land with this new number. And there's a couple things that give me reason to believe that this won't be a worry for the water fund in itself. Firstly, there's still a buffer above what our minimum fund balance is required by management policy. We want to see 90 days. And right now, I think we would be 50% above that with our ending fund balance is forecasted within the budget. So that's one thing. The second thing is that we noticed during our utility rights study that we had been paying taxes on our water revenues twice. We paid for it within the utility rates of B&O, the state's business and occupation tax. We'd also been paying taxes under the regular business and occupation tax. So we have not yet received those revenues. We will be amending a bunch of returns going back to 2021. I anticipate it being a few $100,000 maybe. So that's revenue that will come in. So I think that we're going to be okay within this account, even though there was an error in that fund balance estimation.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman, you have any other questions? Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Let's see, next item is flag policy discussion led by our city attorney, Dina Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. This was previously discussed at the F&A committee, and there's a memo in the packet detailing a proposed potential policy or a memo about a potential policy. So some local governments will periodically fly other non-government flags, such as the pride flag or commemorative flags. Generally, when a local government chooses to fly a flag on agency property, this is considered government speech, unlike the public's First Amendment right to freedom of speech. The government is not required to display any and everything that is requested by members of the public, nor does the government need to allow flag display requests at all. Rather, a local government has discretion to fly non-governmental flags and commemorative flags of its choosing. The recommendation is that the proposed flag policy would not allow requests from members of the public. Importantly, if a local government chooses to fly certain flags at the request of the public, it should have clear policies regarding the flag selection process. A recent Supreme Court decision looked at the city of Boston's flag display policy and held that the city's refusal to fly a religious flag violated the plaintiff's First Amendment rights when the city had indiscriminately allowed other flags to be flown at the request of the public. So the purpose of today would be to have a discussion and to seek direction from council on what council would like in a flag policy. The recommendation is to have a list of flags in that policy. There was a prior attorney-client confidential conversation regarding the flag policy and potential litigation. I do not recommend it referencing that prior conversation because it did involve potential litigation as confidential. Some of today's conversation may overlap with that prior conversation when discussing which flags to display. I understand this may feel like repetitive and that we're going backwards, and I apologize for that. The decision process from a policy perspective of which flag council would like display to have in the policy should be discussed in an open meeting.
And whether you want a policy or not.
Yeah, and whether
Right.
you want a policy or not, we don't have to have a flag policy.
And so do we have any comments or questions or?
So, yeah. The
Council-
first
question.
comment, it's a question. So under the outside city facilities, there's the United States flag, the Washington State flag, and the POW/MIA flag. Are we currently flying that flag?
I
The
don't believe,
POW flag?
I don't believe we are.
Okay.
Oh,
We are across the street.
We'll know the city is
Yeah.
this,
That's ours.
okay.
It's a little park. Yeah, it's a little tiny park.
Memorial Park, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That was theirs.
That's
Those are
fine.
ours.
Okay,
That's
Mr.
what it's
Johnson?
advising.
How many poles are over there? Sorry, there's a wall right there, so I can't see it.
you aren't there? Oh, 5,
Six.
6,
7.
So given that,
not paid attention.
there had been the there had been the idea of hanging one in a window because we didn't have enough space. But if that's right there, I would consider that to be close enough to the hall to be like, yeah, it's quote unquote at City Hall. In which case, perhaps we wouldn't need to have them hanging inside in the window and only have the American flag outside. So they could just be something that, I mean, you could still say, I guess, outside or inside if there was another city building that was going to have one hang in a window or something like that, that's fine. But perhaps they could just be listed as flags that could be flown by the city rather than having a designation of these go outside, these go inside.
Yeah.
Counselor Christensen?
I think that if we're gonna go forward and, first of all, I'm in support of adding additional flags. I'm happy to talk about that later. I think that if we're gonna talk about location, since that is specifically for the memorial, we may want to be more specific about which kinds of flags we're gonna be having displayed here
okay.
versus at the memorial, because I don't want to
Oh,
take
that makes
anything
sense.
away from the veterans.
Mhm.
Obviously willing to have more of a conversation on that as well.
Oh, that's a good
But
point.
I do think that if we're gonna go forward with a new flag policy, that we should be talking about the locations for where the flags could be placed. And make sure that everybody's on the same page with that.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
We actually, I'll call it administer those flags across the street? Or does the VFW or veterans?
I know we have assisted in restringing poles at times. I don't know if we have hung the flags or not. I don't know if Jeff knows. I do believe there is a bit of a partnership going on over there.
If we think this policy applies there, we probably need to look at it. My suspicion is it's the 5 services.
Mhm.
It's probably state and US flag.
So.
That's 7, there's 7 over there. I was doing my finger count.
Good enough.
If I've got the number of services right. So we may wanna look at that, or if it's, again, our facility but administrated by an external entity, somehow exclude it and let them work it.
Counselor Johnson?
Yeah, so given that, I completely agree, though, I still wonder if we need to have the inside versus outside designation. I think that the administration can look at things like that and go, yeah, clearly this is supposed to be a memorial for these topics and not to commandeer the meaning of the memorial for something else. So I think that that's where I'd stand on is that I'm not sure that we need to have an inside-outside designation, but not for the same reason as I previously said.
All right, then
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
I'll have a discussion one in opposition. Although I support the schools and everything else, the local and the professional and school sports teams at some stage gets to be somewhat of an ambiguous definition. And one such as we've had public comment be taken advantage of where there are loopholes. Somebody could put a professional or a local team together with non-school related with interesting names. So I think they have other venues and we probably should shy away from flags of that nature for city purposes.
Counselor Washington?
Yeah, I'll raise a similar concern. It just speaks to me, when I read this local professional or school sports teams, I think of the word favoritism. And so for that reason, I'd not, I probably wouldn't support it.
Thank you. Councilor Christensen?
See, in this case, I would be I do understand the concerns. I would personally be in support of having like a flag from outside high school since, you know, it does pull from students within our geographical area within the city itself as well as some of the neighboring as well. I do understand concerns about professional sports and other school sports teams because there are a number of them in the valley in the city. But I do think that it would be seen as quite supportive, especially if you're looking around graduation times and things like that, to have the Mount Si High School flag flying for the kids.
How many elementary
Mayor
schools
Pro
do
Tem
we have?
Holloway?
How many elementary schools do we have?
I believe SVSD has 6.
I'm sorry?
I believe SVSD has 6 total, but there's also North Bend and Fall City. So I was saying just all of the kids end up at Mount Si High School or Two Rivers.
Correct. So are we going high school and above? Are we playing favoritism at the elementary level? And I don't know. I'm having a hard time even discussing flags because I'm not sure I'm getting the taxpayers' money out of this. So my push is to keep it just simple.
Councilor Martin?
I think my preference would be as far as the additional flags inside the facilities would be governmental recognized flags. So sister city, it would be appropriate if they are here to have a sister city flag. Yeah, obviously the state and our own city flags are governmental entities. If King County had a flag, I guess that would be acceptable if it's an event that's being attended by King County. But I would like to see that be very kind of narrow. And know that the American flag represents everybody.
Councilor Johnson?
I think the Councilmember Watton does bring up an interesting point that I don't see on the list, the city flag. Maybe I missed it, maybe it is in there, but I don't think that I saw it.
We do have one
Oh,
though.
It's under currently, so
Oh,
the city of Snoqualmie flag, yep,
Okay, it is in there, okay, never mind.
inside of council chamber.
So then, the one that, that seems that I am waffling the most on is the local professional and school sports teams. And I feel like I don't have a very strong preference one way or the other on it, whether we include them or not, though I do definitely hear the question of, it could turn into perhaps a question that someone could have if we didn't spell out which teams, then why did you do this team instead of this team? So, if anything, perhaps narrowing it down to Mount Si High School, perhaps that could thread the needle.
Okay. Councilor Cotton?
I agree. I don't believe we should show favoritism to professional and maybe limit the local school, like, that's a good point on Mount Si that all the students do eventually funnel there. I
Right.
do have a question with unusual sporting events that occur, like FIFA coming up in 2026. And while we're not a host city, we were getting some overflow on that. Is that, and I realize they're very limiting on where that you can use their professional sports things, but is that something that we've been approached to in any way, display, or?
I'm seeing a nod back there. No, we have not.
So I guess with anything, saying if there's an exception to a rule, I mean, the council makes a decision on it.
Right. I mean, it could be our team flag that plays in FIFA, but a World Cup, we could think about that, but just that time. Councilor Johnson?
Right, okay. So our team flag versus the FIFA logo.
Right.
And what I'm thinking about is that that's trademarked, and I don't know what the concerns could be around flying a trademarked flag without permission or something anyway. So,
City Administrator?
Nicole and I have attended several meetings and they said, don't go anywhere near their logo.
should we fly the NFL logo?
They said, don't.
Okay, any other feedback?
So then are we limiting the teams or
Well, it sounds like it.
are we like saying high school?
Then,
Yeah.
so then we could do Mount Si High School.
Outside high school.
And then I
And if
guess,
there's a World Cup, maybe we consider flying our team's flag. But possibly, we would decide that
we
then
gotta do the 12 flag?
from the Super Bowl.
Again, with approval of the
City-
council.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
So the way,
City Attorney.
the way the policy was going to be drafted would be that whatever list we come up with would be the council approved flag. So we wouldn't, the idea would being that we wouldn't have to go back to council to ask permission to fly it. So if the list does not say professional sport teams or locals teams, it just says Mount Si High School teams, then if there's some non-FIFA trademark potential flag that could be flown when the World Cup is in town, we would have to come back and acquire council permission from that because it would be outside the scope of the flag policy.
Sounds good. Counselor Johnson?
We also may not be able to anticipate what, for the next, say, 10 years, the special events would be. So in that sense, perhaps for special events, it would have to come back to council to ask for that anyway. So I would wonder if we'd be okay as a council with, if there's a special event, come back to us and ask. I'd be open to council members, not like it's my decision, but I'm just saying, perhaps council members could add other things to the list of other teams that they think should be on there. The one that I had suggested that we limited it to was Mount Si High School, but if there are others that the council also thinks should be on that list for professional sports teams and stuff, keeping it to a list of these are the teams rather than the broad open, perhaps could help.
Counselor Washington?
Yeah, so if we're sticking with the definitions of outside city and inside city, then maybe we table a discussion on moving the pride flag and the Juneteenth flag to the outside city, just because of their historical significance.
So you want clarification?
Yeah.
You think we ought to have that discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, the verb table means not have.
Oh,
the
sorry.
Put it away
discussion.
Thank you. So have the conversation of bubbling them up to the outside city discussion. So flying them commensurate with the United States flag, the Washington State, and the POW flag.
Counselor Johnson?
Yeah, my thought was to just not designate which ones are outside or which ones are inside. I think that the administration can make those kinds of determinations. And I think that I would trust their judgment on that, and that we just say, these are the flags that can be flown. And if needed, perhaps we do need to say that they could be hung in a window kind of thing, meaning inside. Maybe that's a question if that needs to be specified, that, you know, city buildings can have them hung in the window. But my thought would be that they can fly them outside if they're on the list.
So we don't need to, I think, from talking to the city clerk, it sounds like we already have some spots for flags. So I don't think we need to designate the inside versus outside as
Right.
much as we do which of the flag.
Right.
Okay,
I think that's my feeling.
That
Okay.
sounds good. Okay,
leaving it more open. Well, thank you for the
we
correction.
create a draft and we come back and have further discussion on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? No, all right. Thank you. That's great input.
Oh, I do have a quick
Thanks,
question
Councilor
on this.
Washington.
Sorry, just real quickly. On the sovereignty entity, is that, obviously other countries, but how are we recognizing that? Is that countries officially recognized by the State Department? Or how are we making that determination?
City Attorney?
The intent behind that was, in case, for example, the tribe,
Mhm.
there was some significant date and they gave consent for us to fly a flag and provided us a flag. And that was a way that we could honor them, that would be, the tribe is a sovereign entity, that we could fly their flag.
Okay.
Councilor Christensen?
And then when that came up at FNA, my recommendation was that we make sure that if we're going to be flying the flags of any sovereign entities, that obviously we get their permission and learn how they would like their flags to be treated and things like that, just to make sure that we don't unknowingly do something that would be considered disrespectful just through a lack of knowledge and understanding.
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
If at some future date we have a joint council meeting with North Bend, please, would they fall under the category of sovereign entity?
One possibility, I think Councilmember Watton mentioned the King County flag. One possibility, we could add other government agencies to the list.
And that would also cover the armed services flags across the state.
Right,
then.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that if we have that would cover it.
No, good point.
So Councilor Washington, you had mentioned that's recognized by state government, as he said, or
Well, the
was there
State
concern?
Department, I guess the concern there is that, there are countries that aren't officially recognized as sovereign countries, but colloquially, we refer to them as countries, right? And so I think that it could be offensive for other countries if we're recognizing these countries that aren't officially recognized as sovereign entities. That's my point.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we,
Mayor Pro Tem Holloway?
can we just say officially, not necessarily just State Department, because there may be other ones on the tribe in case, I'm not sure, is State Department recognized versus Department of Interior? Can we just say recognized other sovereign entities? Think I understand the issue you're discussing, and we've had fun in the past. So, yeah.
Okay, Councilor Johnson?
Wonder if it'd be federally recognized? So that would cover the
Everything.
various departments that do the job of recognizing sovereign entities.
Okay.
North Bend flag will be state recognized. But I'm not gonna,
Okay,
What you're saying.
we'll put something together and then we
Okay.
can relook at the wording and stuff. Okay. All right.
Oh, can I just ask Claire? So I know at FNA we talked about having discussion, then potentially bringing the policy forward. Is the intent to have this come forward for more discussion at the next council meeting? Is that the direction?
think-
Because,
Bring an agenda bill, is that what you want?
or do you
I
want
think the
full-
agenda is do agenda
Good
bill
one,
and come
yeah.
back to, go FNA, come back to council and have final agreement on it.
Okay, but I'm sorry, maybe it's just late. I think, but we're postponing the Pride and Juneteenth flag discussion, or do we not want that on the list?
I think we do want it on there.
Yeah, I
we
don't
do
think
want it.
anybody's.
We
Okay.
have no objections to them being on the
Yeah.
list.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Right. Okay, moving on. Mayor's report. Just some quick updates. We do have an 8-day closure of State Route 18 under the I-90 bridges coming up. And it starts Thursday at 9 PM and it goes until Friday morning at the 25th, July 25th at 5 AM. So that means there's no northbound or southbound traffic will be allowed under I-90, except for there'll be emergency vehicles will be allowed. They're gonna be building the north end of the diverging diamond. So by the time, when it opens July 25th, the diverging diamond will be in place. There'll still be some, like, they're gonna have to, I think, do some additional paving and maybe some striping, but basically it will be in place. So I think someone had mentioned, maybe it was you, Councilmember Johnson, about concerns about, do people know how to drive on a diverging diamond? So they're actually doing outreach. Washed Out will be on the 21st at the YMCA and also Safeway. And they have this cute little chart thing. You drive cars on it and it shows exactly how it is laid out. There's also a video out there that went out today. And then they're actually going to be at our site doing a video. So we will have all types of opportunities to watch it. But they also said it's very intuitive. Once you're on it, you know where you are going. So I
I've heard that before. How many people I've seen in the commute should know where they're going? Well, whatever, right?
Right. So it'll be exciting. It'd be nice to have that portion done, and then they still will continue working on the State Route 18, and they think it'll be this fall that'll be completed. So
Have you seen the roundabout up by the casino? And it should be intuitive.
Got stuck in it a couple of times myself.
Many people would
Just- May consider taking the model to the spray park one day,
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
getting big crowds.
Well, they'll be at the Y, so if they see a bunch of people over there,
Okay,
then
there-
they could
yeah, okay.
go over and share it there too. So
Oh,
and
Mayor, sorry.
yes,
One other
Ms.
thing on
Johnson.
that, is I hope that the public understands that a lot of the problems with regard to the backups on I-90, especially in the afternoon, is because of the problems with 18 being narrowed down to the one lane each direction. So this actually probably won't solve that problem. Once that's solved, then we'll probably start to see the benefits of the diverging diamond. So I just hope that the public will have a little bit of patience for that widening to
Yes.
be
That's a
completed,
good point.
and then we'll
That's a
see
good
things
point.
better, hopefully.
And they're during the 8 days, they're gonna have reader boards at different places on I-90. I think we're gonna have 2 on the Parkway. That'll show where you even head up from 202 to stay around to I-90, that you realize there's certain areas you can't go. So that'll hopefully, then you have turnarounds and go a different direction. And then Preston, it has gotten backed up previously during this type of shutdown. And so they'll literally have flaggers up there doing that, flagging them, helping keep the traffic going. And then they're also looking at geofencing for semi trucks. And so it pushes out to all the semi trucks, showing that this particular area is closed, that they can't drive under the fence, under the bridges. So there's lots of different things that they're trying to do to get word out there besides us pushing it out through communications. So anyway, it'll be fun. King County Library System. So I sent you an email asking if you wanted to share your favorite book or books, and it could be you, or it could be if you have a child that has a favorite series of books. Anyway, they will be here in September, and they want to be able to share, here's their city council's favorite reads. So maybe if you're interested, send it to me by July 28th. So I think received a couple books so far. So, and I guess finally we were busy with events. We have in the park this Thursday with a plein air paint out, and Thomas the Train this weekend. And there's all kinds of other fun events coming up. So watch the website. That's all I have. And is there any updates from council on liaison? Councilor Christensen?
Yeah, so at the June PIC meeting, members discussed there's a proposed King County Transportation District sales tax increase that they were considering. The elected officials on that meeting were kind of concerned about it because the overall sentiment was that it is not the right time for new sales tax, which would not be voted on, and that there just had not been regional collaboration before going forward with this particular transportation revenue option. So at the last meeting on the 16th, the last meeting last week, PIC voted unanimously to authorize a letter to go out. It's going to be considered by the PIC board before it's sent off, but just cautioning again against going forward with this additional sales tax, just keeping in mind that as well as we appreciate that there's additional funding that needs to be done for transportation, that the concern is that as local municipalities are trying to figure out ways to fund their own transportation and their own things, that adding one more additional tax that the voters don't get a chance to vote on will negatively impact our ability to go forward with our own funding options. So there's that, and then there's going to be an AWC training that's coming up on the new grants that are going to be get done through the Washington State Criminal Justice. It's the Training Commission. There's not a whole lot of information at this point on what those grants will look like, but AWC is recommending that mayors, council members, police chief, city administrators, and finance staff listen in if you have some time. I can send the link out if you're interested.
Thank you. Councilor Watton?
I've got a couple quick things. First of all, Divergent Diamond, that was a local initiative. This WashDOT originally proposed a flyover, but it was the city of Snoqualmie that pressed for doing the Divergent Diamond many years ago. And it's great that it's coming to fruition. It's the second one in the state. First one is over in Lacey. If you want to go drive that one first before driving ours,
Practice
you're welcome to. The second thing, and that goes back to the Economic Development Commission. Number of years ago, commission took on the idea of having community job fairs. When COVID came along, we were kind of pressed into doing this snowvalleyjobs.com website. And it's broken, by the way. It's broken right now because on the 21st, the Chamber of Commerce, as well as Snow Valley Innovation Center, is unveiling the brand new updated, that doesn't have to be updated by me every night. Snowvalleyjobs.com is going to be automated so that employers can post their jobs. Historically, we've had 12,000 job seekers a year come through the site. We never thought that we'd have that many. 125 plus businesses have used it. But watch for that coming up because it's a huge help. City of Snoqualmie has used it on multiple occasions, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of businesses, 100 businesses through the valley, and it is going to be amazing once it launches. So watch for that.
Great, thank you. Any other updates? Right, seeing none. City Administrator, do you want to share comments and department reports?
I will go lightning fast. I really encourage you to look at, there's a lot in there from all the departments. But I just want to highlight my two favorite events because they both occurred in June. That would be the grand opening of the splash pad, which the majority of you were at and you saw the crowds and everything. But the other one is Big Truck Day. I didn't get to make it out there this year. I was very sad about that. But over 800 people attended that event. So good work, Nicole, who actually happens to be hiding in the back of the room. So thank you, Nicole.
Excellent. With that, the next item is executive session. So pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to potential litigation lasting approximately, how much longer do you think we need?
I'll start with 30 minutes.
We'll start with 30 minutes. Those attending include City Attorney Dina Burke, City Administrator Mike Chambliss, Interim Chief Haracy, Deputy Finance Director Jen Hughes, Budget Manager Janet Walker. And do you need a 5-minute break? We are
Sure to clear the room anyway.
okay to clear the room, and we will remain here in this room. So,
Oh, Mayor, I believe Ms. Walker is not attending.
okay. Did we? Okay, we remove her name. So. And there's no action anticipated following the conclusion of the executive session. Recording of the meeting will cease. Council will adjourn directly from the executive session and not return to open session. And the city clerk will be informed of the concluding time, which will be reflected in the meeting minutes. So with that, we will cease and we should be done, supposed to be done by 9, probably 9:10. Yes, so, okay. We'll stop the recording and end the session. Thank you.